Yeah, so the thing about those two dyes, you know where those sample strips are, those paper utensil? So there's a couple ways that you can approach those dyes, because those dyes are incredibly intricate, but I wanted them. I wanted them because I think sometimes if you're making a card or a page, you want to add some of that intricate detail, but a stamp can't give it to you. So the cobblestone and brick, because it has basically grout lines and individual components, you can either approach it as saying,
Denzel showed them to me before they were
the cobblestone and brick?
Yes.
Because once you see it, you'll get it. So the grout itself on both of those dies, it's a continuous piece, right? So you can either die cut out of paper and just shake everything up and use the grout, which is how I did this one. Okay. So you see all those little grout lines, that's cardstock, that's coordinations right there. And all I did there was I cut this out of gray, whatever you want your grout to be. I took a piece of cardstock, this was specialty stamping paper, and I just alcohol inked it. So all the greens and browns and mush, that's alcohol ink, okay? So now I've got die cut gray grout, strip of cardstock alcohol inked. Take a collage glue stick, scribble over the whole thing, glue my grout. So now I've glued the grout over all these different colors, and then I just went in with glossy accents.
Oh, so that's how it's
So I have that one. Yes, exactly. So you got that. Now this one, I could have done the same way. I could have gone in, because here's my grout. You can kind of see the end lines. You can see when I lift it back. So I could have done the same thing where I cut the grout, inked this, collage glue stick. I use collage glue stick because it's totally invisible when it dries. So you don't have to put it on the back of the paper. You put it over the whole entire strip of paper and then just stick it down. This one instead, I actually went in and put the bricks back in. Kind of ink them and pop them back in. So this one takes a little patience, but there's a trick. If you run it through run it through a Xyron first to get the adhesive on it, then when you die cut it, it stays on your backer sheet, and then you just kind of like peel and stick. You still have to fit them all back in, but you can use it either way. So I wanted to show like these are the people that are like super detailed, and this would be me. Which is like, but I'll tell you what I did with the little nuggets, because don't think I threw them away. I didn't. Remember the tag I did, the 12 tags where I did the butterfly? And I did the paper mosaic? I die cut the grunge board butterfly with Wonder Tape, stuck down my paper pieces, and then put embossing powder as my grout. These are now little individual mosaic rocks that you can use on other cards. So you can still use them, just not as a cobblestone. That's pretty cool. All right, so let's go ahead and do our snowflake rosette. So my glue gun is hot. But I have to show you something that I learned like a month ago or so that I think the world needs to know. But I haven't done my video yet, so you can trump me on that. All right, I like it. So here we go. We're gonna work. Take our bag on. Let's just get that opened up. We got our platform. We're gonna need our platform and our solo shim for that, because of course we're going to be working with decorative strip dies. So the snowflake rosette, this is basically a new die. There's two of them, just like the original rosette. This inspiration, of course, was a trip I took, and I actually saw these in a restaurant. Not this exact thing, but actually saw these really horrible decorations, really hanging in a Mexican restaurant. They were like gold and green and red big mylar things hanging up. But the concept was, it looked like a rosette to me, but I saw things cut out of it, you know, other little shapes, and I thought, that's cool. So you can take a rosette and then cut out of it. So I went back and I said, okay, let's start with our circle, and let's just start cutting into it and see how well it's going to hold up before it doesn't work as a rosette. And that's where we got the snowflake. So let me grab this finished one right there, just to show you that you can cluster a lot of them together. So these are the snowflakes, and of course there's three different sizes. So this big one, that's the one that's on its own die, and then you have the small and medium one. That's going to be on the second die. So what's also nice about this from a Christmas perspective is that you can cut these and of course stack the three together to make a nice little tree. So yeah, it'll be really cool. So you can use them by themselves, cluster them, or stack them up. And just like the other rosette, here's how it's going to work. So I'm just going to take a piece of cardstock. So we use our craft board. That's pretty cool. We'll use that. But you can use any type of cardstock or paper. As long as you're working with paper, you'll be able to do that. And I'm just going to take that color side down, right over my die. I'm going to put it between two cutting pads. It is important that you either work with decorative strip cutting pads, or you can just work with the extended cutting pads, as long as they're long enough to go through your die. And we're going to put it on our platform. Now, a couple of things that people ask about when it comes to cutting pads. I do like cutting pads, and I like the fact that these fit this die, but they're kind of frustrating because they actually make the same cutting pad the width of my platform. And the reason I like those better is because these, they just fit the die. And sometimes when they start going through your machine, you know exactly what I'm saying, they start to like do that, and if they slide off your die, it's not going to cut. Just like, I totally know you. Yeah. How's it going?
Great.
So I'm going to run this through. So I just kind of hold the base because I could feel it already wanting to slide. But if you hold it, it's okay. And then just let it go through. So I'll take this out, and I'm going to just take this off of the die. So here's some things. If I'm going to distress this, if I wanted to sand it, remember that whole trick. You're going to put it on a surface, and you would sand it while it's already still in its base, because when I sand it, that's going to allow me to kind of sand around those edges, but I'm not going to sand this one. So I'll just pop this out. And it has a lot of zigzags, a lot of little cuts, so you just kind of have to work it out of the paper. Don't get all crazy with it. It's cool. Kind of makes a little crown too. There's our snowflake center. Now I'm going to grab my die pick, because it also has some little cutout pieces. So I'm just going to go in and just pop those out. You can do this before or after you assemble it. I just think it's easier when they're all in the line. So I'm just going to go with that. A couple things to know about a die pick, especially if you have a craft pick. If you're going to use it for that, you can actually use a craft pick or a die pick. But the reason I have actually both tools is the die pick is designed out of tempered steel. So if you're using things like grunge board or chipboard and one of the steel wool dies, this is designed for this kind of motion, digging or picking motion. If you use just a regular craft pick, it's going to bend that metal. So that's why it's totally different metals when you're working with it. Yeah, if you've tried using it with another pick, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so some tricks to the rosette. If you're going to work with a rosette, what I suggest is actually turn it over and go in with some sort of tape, whether it's tissue tape, whether it's scotch tape, anything that's going to be sheer enough that's going to stay flexible. Try to work with masking tape or duct tape, it's not going to work. And I just go in with a piece of tape. The tissue tape is going to work fine, and just go right along the back of it. And here's why. The decorative strip dies, because they are a chemically etched die, it cannot create a crease. In other words, the way this die is designed, it's not a blade system. It's actually artwork that's been etched away, leaving just a raised metal surface. So it's not actually a sharp blade like regular dies. And so it does more of like a cookie cutter process when you're actually going through and chopping out the paper. So every bit of metal is the same height. So you can't create a crease. The only way to create a fold is actually do perforation. And when you do perforation on paper, it's perforated. It's going to tear apart. So I think having that little bit of tissue tape on the back is going to help. So I'm just going to tear out the excess. Hey Tammy, is that craft sheet still here? So I don't want to glue on a cutting pad. No, that craft sheet. Yeah, I used a cutting pad. Don't glue on a cutting pad. Thanks. Because hot glue doesn't come off a cutting pad. Just saying. All right. It will happen. So now I've got my piece, all right? And another cool thing is you can actually use this on the front. If you wanted it as part of your heart, you could have put the tissue tape on the front too. So now we're gonna go in, you can see our little perforated lines. We're gonna go in and just start folding this. So I can accordion fold it. Now, when you're accordion folding, let me just show you a couple of things on this die. You'll see that the perforated lines, they end before they get up to that top part. So as I fold it, and I'll try to do this right here so you can see it, watch when I get to that large one. Notice that it's not designed to fold or crease all the way to the tip. So when you're folding it, just stay on the end. Don't squeeze these together, because you'll lose the look of that snowflake, okay? Once you get enough paper in your hand, just let it go and then work in another section. And then let it go and work in another section. Sometimes people try to do all of this holding the whole thing in their hand at a time. As long as you make sure that you do a continuous zigzag pattern and you don't zig when you should have zagged, then you should be all right. So, when it's all said and done, this is what we have. Continuous zigzag once again. And we're going to glue the ends together. The glue that you want to use, work with whatever glue you want. If you want to work with glossy accents, if you want to work with multi-medium, but I'm just going to go with just a little touch of hot glue because I have it. So I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to touch the two ends together. So you'll notice that they end going the opposite way. So it's really easy to just match those up. And I stick them together, and if we look at the the design as a whole, you can see that it actually has just that zigzag pattern going around. So here we go. When I go to make my rosette, I'm going to put this point side down on my craft sheet. And all you want to do is just gather around the top of it. I'll kind of move this down so you can see. When I gather around the top, I just take my fingers and you're going to group this together. If you grab it at the bottom, it'll tend to like bunch up again. So sometimes people go, well, you know what, Tim, I struggle with that, okay? Just go around first and maybe kind of tighten up those little perfs a little bit. Because sometimes it just goes together brilliantly, and sometimes like on this one, it's gonna give you some grief, but once you get it, you'll see that everything just kind of wants to spread itself out. So here's what I'm gonna do. When I'm ready to do my rosette, I'm gonna go in with hot glue. I think this is so much easier. Working on a craft sheet, you're just gonna go in and you're just gonna put a blob of hot glue. Put that over your blob of hot glue. Go in, gather around the sides, and then you can cinch it all together right in that little hot glue. And that's it. This is much easier than using like a liquid glue or a glue dot or something like that, because that hot glue, you'll see that it kind of bubbles up in the center. So not only does it glue it from the base, but it kind of comes up on the inside and glues everything together. I can also go with a little touch of hot glue while it's here and use that centerpiece. So that should cut out that little top centerpiece, and I like to offset that. And we're just going to let that cool. So you can make all your rosettes and just leave them there on your craft sheet, and when the glue dries or it cools and you're ready to use it, it's basically just peel. There we go. It's a glue string. If you're a messy hot gluer like I am and you don't like glue strings, take your heat tool, wave over them, and they just disappear. They vanish. Yeah. So now I'm just going to pop this off. And there we go. There's our rosette. And you can see in the back, there's our glue. But look, if that was on the front, it's really nice how that tissue tape would add a decorative element too. So if you can make these, maybe you're going to do ornaments, cut two of them, of course, and you can glue them back to back too if you want the nice pretty paper on both sides. It's fun. It's a cool rosette. Of course, you know, always. Yes. Sounds cool.